go. Freaking hook is barely in there. Yeah, baby. Hey guys, I'm Chad Hoover. Welcome to this episode where I'm joined again by my good buddy Gene, the Fluke Master Jensen, and I'm gonna lay the smack down on him in a shallow water clinic. Yeah.
What?
Do a little bass curls.
I've never seen Chad so keyed in like this.
Let's do it. Oh, right at the the only thing better than catching more fish than Gene is watching Gene watch me catch fish.
That's not even right. I'm gonna have to go home and lick my wounds, because this sucks.
I'm gonna go out there and see if I can't make it happen. This is really the essence of what kayak fishing is all about. This is my kayak. Get yourself one. There he is. Yeah! Look at that tank! Fish on! Oh my God! Good night! Oh yeah! When you think North Alabama, you can't not think Lake Guntersville. A lot of people think of Guntersville as the big G and they think of the big sections, but the part that gets overlooked is all of these little backwater pockets. Though I have fished Guntersville for over a decade, every time I go there, I'm able to find places that I've never fished before. And in a lot of cases, you can get into acres and acres of effectively your own little private fishery. I am on one of my favorite lakes with one of my favorite people. In fact, he's in my top 3, right behind my kids. So, Gene, it's fall. This is really our favorite time to fish, is when the parking lot's empty. There's nobody here. Let's do it. When you're trying to grow as an angler, it's always great to fish with someone who brings out the best in you, and then hopefully you can bring out the best in them, and the net sum is that both of you were better for the adventure. I just wish that had happened this episode, Fishing with Gene.
Yep, it's days like this that make all the grinding worth it.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
What?
Look at that guy.
Here I am on my phone and you're catching fish.
That's why you fish in the fall when everybody else is sitting on the couch. Let's get that guy back in the water. All right, so let me show you guys what I caught this fish on. So this is the Swaggy Strong spinnerbait from Shimano. Right now on Guntersville, that thing is absolutely killer. So listen guys, if you have a Torqeedo 1103 and you fish with buddies that have a bow mount trolling motor, here's a little trick you can do. Let them get out ahead of you about 30, 40 yards, and then just do this. Hi, Gene.
Hi, Chad.
Bye, Gene.
Bye, Chad.
When it comes to exploring backwaters, one of the first things that I'm looking for is isolated bodies of water. And about 90% of the time, there's a culvert that connects those two. But one of the reasons that culverts are so good is they're basically funnels or highways for the bait to move back and forth between the larger part of the lake and the smaller part of the lake. Oh, right at the boat, right at the boat, right at the boat. That's a good fish. I actually broke away from Gene for a little while and went and did some exploring. I found this really nice culvert, and I noticed how really clear the water was. I switched to a spot remover colored Mini Max chatterbait and Sexy Shad fluke on it. And man, that combination right there is flat deadly when these fish are keying on shad, and that dude was definitely keying on shad. I wonder how Gene's doing.
Chad, I ain't feeling it.
There we go.
The old man has figured something out.
You know the only thing better than catching more fish than Gene is watching Gene watch me catch fish.
I don't know, I'm kind of into this different situation. I've never seen Chad so keyed in like this. I'm usually kicking his tail, kind of in a weird spot.
Normally Gene is all smiles and a real pleasant, happy guy, but sometimes, especially when he's not catching fish, he turns into Mean Gene. There we go. Come on, get out of there.
It's a donkey.
Get out of there, get out of there, get out of there.
Chad has just found the dumbest fish on the lake.
Another little chunky bass. Naturally, anytime you fish with somebody that's really competitive and you're competitive yourself, it's gonna bring out that competitive nature in both of you. So the last couple times I filmed with Gene, he's caught the bigger fish and the most fish, but this time when we decided to go fishing, I had to redeem myself a little bit and serve Gene up a slice of humble pie.
Time to catch a 10-pounder and shut him up. He does talk more trash when he's caught more fish than me. But when I'm whipping his tail, he shuts up. Yeah.
Hey Gene, you had any luck?
Nope.
The feeding time is literally right at dark today.
That's gonna be my feeding time too. There's a nice little Chinese buffet right down the road.
Isn't your feeding time anytime it's daylight?
He got jokes when he's on fish.
Oh, there he is. You know, they say in life, sometimes you're the hammer and sometimes you're the nail. Today I actually hammered the fish and Gene was feeling pretty down in the dumps, but the one thing you can be guaranteed that Gene is gonna hammer is a biscuit, barbecue, a slice of pizza, and chocolate or key lime pie. So we opted for that. Chad Hoover Fishing is brought to you by Dakota Lithium. Go farther, last longer, play harder. Bonafide Kayaks, ultimate fishability. Power Pole Micro Anchor, swift, silent, secure, and small. Yak Attack, make it yours. Anchor Wizard, revolutionizing the boat anchoring world. OPS, Outdoor Product Solutions. Come on, baby, hit my lure. Come on, baby, hit my lure.
How does a fat man stand up in a kayak? You know, Chad, that's something I think a lot of big guys like us, the reason they don't get into kayak fishing is because they think that they're too big.
To be honest with you, I think when you're bigger, it's actually easier to stand up because you kind of push the boat down into the water a little bit and you get a little bit more bite, whereas if you're a lighter person, you're kind of like a leaf getting blown across the surface, so. Here we go. It's a good little chunker. Got that spinnerbait right in the corner of the mouth. Do a little bass curls.
That poor guy. He should have bought a kayak. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. Wrong tool. I sure wish the bass would show me where they're at. Whoa! Was not ready for that one.
One of the keys to becoming a consistent angler is figuring out where fish go when they're not where you thought they should be. So for example, if you fish somewhere where there's milfoil growing up right to the surface and you're just not finding fish there, 99% of the time they're gonna go to the first available hard cover or hard structure near them. In a lot of places, almost anywhere in the country, that's also docks.
So Chad decided he wanted to go fish docks, and I kind of agree with him. I'm gonna go follow him as soon as I fix this line mess that I have, and we'll go have some fun.
One thing I did in this episode is I took Gene to an area that I was really familiar with, so I had a little bit of intel that he didn't have, but it shows you that even with a really accomplished angler, it's those tiny little details that make the difference between catching fish and not catching fish, because honestly, if we had showed all the fish I caught, look at that dude right there. I probably had like 50 fish before he caught his first one.
Oh, fish. My first one today. I didn't get a good hook set because he's so small. Just guys, look at this thing. That guy had high hopes. He was gonna get him a meal for dinner, lunch, breakfast, next month, next week. That's not even right.
Little dude. A little guy. I'm so cute though. Look at him. Look how cute him is. He did not know he was not big. Like all great anglers, towards the end of the day, Gene's obviously made an adjustment. And I'm not gonna say he was copying my pattern, but he definitely adopted. So he started catching fish and really redeeming himself.
Nice. They definitely want that little mini max chatterbait.
And honestly, if we had fished more towards Gene's strength, we probably would have caught bigger fish. And I plan on kind of putting myself in his back pocket a lot to become a better deep water fisherman myself. That way it makes me more well-rounded, and it gives me the opportunity to expand my skill set, expand my knowledge base, and I think that that's something that we should all do.
Oh yeah.
You have to force yourself to get out of your comfort zone sometime. Pretty little fish. I think I'm gonna twist his arm, get him to teach me a little bit more about deep water fishing, and I'll try to teach him a little bit more about shallow water fishing. Oh, you bags. Dang it. One of the cool things about kayak fishing is you can get involved in it with a basic kayak, a paddle, and a PFD. Or you can be like us two knucklehead and just take it to the extreme. What I want to do is basically let Gene walk you through his kayak and how he sets his boat up. We have a lot of similarities, but we also have some differences, so it's kind of cool to see two really advanced setups and how two different anglers took a different approach to accomplish basically the same thing.
All right, so what I want to do is I want to go through my kayak real quick, and I want you to understand it's set up for the way that I enjoy fishing. We'll start up front with the power plant. This is a Motor Guide XI3 saltwater version, but it's their kayak one that's cut down to 36 inches. It is hooked up to a Dakota lithium battery, which you'll see in the back of the boat. Underneath here, I have Dakota lithium that runs all my electronics. Sometimes I'll have two fish finders, sometimes I have one. I run down imaging, I run side imaging, everything a big bass boat has. You come back to the nice, tall, 10-inch off the deck seat that Bonafide has. I sit in it all day long. It's very comfortable. Coming on back, catch board slides really nice in between my camera mount and my rod holders. I got the double header that holds my paddle just in case I need it. This is the Yak Attack leverage landing net, and I love it because I can get it out and deploy it and net a fish in a little less than a second. 0.7 seconds is how much I've been timed. I've got the new Yak Attack Black Pack Pro. Typically I can put about 12 rods on my kayak just to make sure I have everything that I need. Visit Carbon Pro with the American flag on the back. If you look in the back here, we've got the Dakota Lithium 135 amp hour battery and my rudder, which allows me to keep the trolling motor locked forward and steer the boat and cast and fish while I'm moving. So I really love it. And that's my kayak. That's my Bonafide SS127, all rigged up and ready to fish. Nice. Too much fun. Woo.
Off the skip, son. Definitely here. Time to get the big ones. All right, guys, so I'm gonna give you a quick walkthrough of my setup as well. Up front, I do have this adjustable drag strap because I do like to drag the kayak into places that are hard to get to. Just like Gene, on my depth finder pod, I actually have my HDS Live 9 mounted there. On the opposite side, part of my boat management and control position system is my Anchor Wizard anchor, and that is tipped off with a DeBomb anchor. It's the perfect combination for both holding your position in shallow water as well as anchoring in deep water, and it's a perfect 1-2 punch with my micro anchor from PowerPole. On the right side of the boat, I have a double header to hold my paddle. I always like to have my paddle available, even if I'm using a motor, to make those quick adjustments. For show. I really love the high seat from Bonafide, but one thing that I do to my seat is I actually add the kayak cushion. If you're a big dude like I am, go with the firm. And then on the side, right next to my seat, I've got my Yak Attack mount with my Torpedo throttle, where it's right there beside me. Just like Gene, I use the Black Pack Pro from Yak Attack. I've got as many rod holders on here as I can stand. The Black Pack itself is just loaded with gear like worm bags and spare tackle box, leader material, terminal tackle, pretty much anything you can need for a day on the water. And then I use another double header over here on the other side with the Park and Pole roto grips to hold my measuring board, so it's right there. And then the last but not least, again, the way that I can share my adventures with you guys is I've got a Dakota Lithium Powerbox 10 here in the back. I've got the Yak Attack boomstick with a GoPro on the top. I've got a power cord running to the top for all day power and all day filming. That's about as advanced as you can get in kayak fishing. You don't have to go this in depth. A simple recreational kayak, a paddle, and a PFD will get you out there and you can start catching fish. 4 casts and 2 fish, and this one came up and whopped the whopper plopper. Figure, well, man, if they're chasing bait, they will definitely hit a whopper plopper, but like that one's got that gut going on too. Number 2, 10 minutes into the day. Can't beat it. Chad Hoover Fishing is brought to you by Dakota Lithium. Go farther, last longer, play harder. Power Pole Micro Anchor. Swift, silent, secure, and small. Yak Attack. Make it yours. NorthAlabama.org, where you can reel in the adventure of a lifetime. Yeti, built for the wild. Fishing Chaos, the best fishing app for your tackle box. Hey guys, before we head back out on the water, I want to talk to you about some of the updates to the advanced rigging of my Bonafide SS127. So I partnered with a new company called OPS, or Outdoor Product Solutions, specifically to design custom parts for the more popular fishing kayaks out there. So what we developed is a mount that will allow me to use my Bonafide SS127 with a power pole and a motor, but not have to give up the 6 inches that I was giving up before. We also came up with some other products, specifically a heavy-duty plate that makes use of the flat side of this boat. So you can put heavy-duty mounts for trolling. You can also put carts and other things without having to drill into the hull because you already have a super rigid, hard-mounted point on the boat. If you're looking for some custom American-made, well-thought-out parts, check out the folks at OPS to outfit your Bonafide SS127 or any of the more popular fishing kayaks out there on the market. Of all the lakes in North Alabama, the one that's probably the most unique, especially for kayak anglers, would be Wheeler. And the reason that Wheeler is so unique is the amount of backwater access. They do a really good job of managing the Wheeler National Wildlife Refuge, and it just makes for some phenomenal fishing. One of the keys to finding fish is finding choke points. One of those places is bridges. Bridges are always a natural travel corridor. And you know, there's give and take with everything, because one of the drawbacks to fishing near a bridge is it's definitely not peaceful.
Hold on.
Especially when you live in the South and nobody has mufflers. So not only am I going to share this tip with Gene, but I'll also share it with you guys. One of the keys to catching fish in shallow water is to actually have your lure in the water.
The reason I'm making a change is this water clarity. I have more confidence in a red or a red craw color chatterbait this time of the year. So I didn't have any in the boat, so I ran back to the truck, grab them, and we're gonna see what happens.
You know, I think a lot of times anglers get more in their head about the color than they need to. Even great accomplished anglers like Gene, he's not catching fish, and I think he wanted to use the fact that he had the wrong color as an excuse. But I think more than that, he just wanted to head back to his truck so he could get something that matched his outfit. You know, every angler has their strengths. Gene is predominantly a deep water fisherman, and I'm predominantly a shallow water fisherman. So what we did for this shoot is we picked an area that was predominantly shallow water because we expected the fish to be there. That was something that played to my strengths, and it was refreshing to be out there catching fish and look over and see the fluke master himself a little bit lost.
No more listening to Chad. We're gonna go do what Gene wants to do.
Fish. I didn't get a good hook set in him. Ugh.
Look at that. That's what a bass looks like. Oh my goodness.
I can't believe I caught one. A lot of times I catch more fish than Chad. It's most of the time I catch the big one.
Oh yeah.
It bothers me more this morning that I was just having such a bad day. Everything seemed to have been going wrong, and my head wasn't in it.
The gut on that thing, son. Look at the gut on that thing. All right, you guys want to see a kid that really gets into his work? Look at this knucklehead. I filmed with my son Austin from the time he was 3 or 4 years old. Now my son works for us full time as part of the production efforts to bring you guys the show.
I enjoy being a cameraman. It's challenging, so I like a good challenge. Filming Chad, my dad, I've had a lot of hard jobs in my life, and it's the hardest job I've done. It's also interesting and fun and keeps you on your toes all the time, so it's a good thing.
Fun! The other thing that makes filming with my son great is he's also an angler. So he understands what we're doing.
Here we go.
In a lot of cases, he even says, hey, Dad, why don't you try this? Which ends up producing fish. And I got to give credit where credit's due. All right, guys, I'm going to show you a little tip. And I got to give credit where credit's due. I actually got this one from my son, Austin. Basically, when I was using the Minimax chatterbait with the 3-inch Zocco, in the beginning, the skirt was so long that it was actually grabbing a hold of the tail and getting rid of the action. So what we did is we trimmed that skirt back right just past the back of the hook shank. And then what that does, it allows that tail to get a little bit more action. And honestly, my fish catches have doubled since I did that. That Minimax is putting it on them, boys.
We were working into the back of this cove, and usually kind of how we do it is one guy comes in, one guy follows his trail, but it just happened to where we just got into a weird funk.
This is a good fish. Oh, watch it. Oh, shit. He's around.
It's just bad luck, in my opinion. It's just bad luck.
I've said this for a number of years. You've got to do a whole bunch of things right to catch a monster bass, but you've only got to do one of those things wrong to keep yourself from catching it. And it's very difficult when you've got a herd of people trying to sneak up on a very wary, very smart, very educated fish. Oh yeah. Oh shoot, yeah. This is a netter right here, son. Oh, that freaking hook is barely in there. Yeah, baby. Woo! All right, guys, that is a pretty fish. Let's let her get back to doing what she's supposed to do, and this is the best part for me. So, guys, let's talk about confidence real quick. I see anglers all the time lose a fish, and then when they lose the fish, whether it's a gear failure, a knot breakage, or something like that, or you just make a mistake, you shouldn't let that erode your confidence because you did everything right but the fight. So I hooked a big fish, got it caught around the motor on Austin's kayak, and tried to loosen up on it a little bit so it could come around it. And as soon as I did, the chatterbait fell out and I watched that fish swim away. I had to center myself, had to say a cuss word or two, but I got it out of my system. And then I said to myself, all right, where was that fish? Why was that fish? Let's just do that part over again. And that resulted in a fish over 4 pounds. I want you guys to remember this. When you lose a big fish, don't let it spin you out in your head because you did everything right but the fight. Now get the fight right and everything else is good.